this intention that actually you should then have clients that are just constantly expanding with you. I don't believe that's always the case. I don't think that that's actually a healthy way to go into mentorship with somebody. I have clients like this one who worked with me for 2 years, and she came back the other week and we did a day together. And I know that she'll come back in the future at some point because she knows the mirror that I hold up to her, but she's also able to develop her own work.
Welcome to Rich Work, the podcast for established female entrepreneurs ready to turn their expertise into premium clients and consistent high-ticket revenue. I'm Rachel Pearson, global brand and business strategist, skincare obsessed, and always distracted by booking the next mini break. Here you'll learn how to position like a luxury brand, attract clients who love to invest, and build wealth that actually lasts, so you can create the business and life you want, not someone else's version of success. This is where premium positioning and building wealth meet for women who are rewriting the rules. Let's get into it.
Welcome back to Rich Work. In today's episode, I am going into something which I'll be honest, I'm still in the middle of. So I'm going to be sharing something around what it's like to be in this process, not having come out the other side of it and be able to talk about all of my learnings and what I would do with hindsight. This is very real. It's very raw. And it's something that I believe as a high level service provider. So somebody who is working in depth with clients, who is delivering service at a high level, you will continue to do over the span of your business. And that is what happens when you outgrow your business. Not in a dramatic, I'm burning it all down, I am pivoting, I am shifting everything up. More in a way where you still have clients, you still are making money, but something just feels off. And you have moved and you know that you've moved and you have changed, but the clients that you're working with, the reputation that you hold, the type of work that you're doing hasn't caught up yet. And this is something which, especially when you move quickly and you do deliver at this high level, you continue to bump up against. And I see it with my clients. And as I said, it's something which I have been going through myself. So today we are getting into it and how you can think about that transition or that evolution that happens when you are working with clients and you are deepening the territory that you are known for. I'm also going to touch upon how one of the key ways that I see people fall down in this is that they actually start to overprove themselves. And we're going to be going into what that can look like too. So this is relevant whether you're in the middle of the shift, whether you are approaching it, whether you're starting to feel like this niggle that something is off. But it does come for anybody who is building a high ticket business that has genuine depth. At some point, your work will grow. Your work should grow. And the question is how you grow with it. So as I said, I am still in the middle of this. Well, not the middle, I would say the end, towards the end of it. But this has been going on for a year. And I want to say that really openly because I think that in the online space, we have this tendency to say, like I decided and then I changed things. Within 2 weeks, I was doing this and I was doing that. And I made a decision about a year ago and things shifted from that decision. But the whole transformation of what my business has looked like, I'd say is really settling down a year later. And I want that to be the truth because it may be shorter in some circumstances. It may be that you're sitting there thinking, well, I've been through this process, Rachel, and it happened very quickly and that's great. But I also want to normalize that when you're building something for the long term and you're really looking at the foundations of what you have in place, it can take time to do that. And that is okay. It doesn't mean that you have to expect income drops. It doesn't mean that you have to expect that your business moves more slowly. It just means that to really kind of feel like you're settled into what the shape of the business looks like can take some time to really work through. And that's what I have been in. So about a year ago, I had a period, and it was over the summer, where the way I can describe it is I started to feel really boxed in. And when I moved into coaching, so this is about 2.5, 3 years ago, I initially was known for high ticket. So high ticket sales strategy, positioning, content, all of it was built around premium pricing, premium offers, how to attract premium clients. And it has been the work that I've done, and it still is the work that I do. And it was where I really got results with people. And it was genuine to what I was doing in the business. And I had that front and foremost of my bio. I was known as somebody who was innovating in the high ticket space and had built up that reputation. And then around this time last year, I noticed that I just stopped feeling lit up by that work. And I didn't want to use the phrase high ticket. And I sat with it for a moment and I thought, is this because I feel like high ticket is just getting such a bad association in the coaching space? High ticket was seen as charging people a lot of money, not really delivering much. It was seen as flashy, and it's a lot of the things that I don't resonate with. But I was like, that's not it, because I don't see that as a challenge. I see that as an opportunity to define my own way of doing things. So I was like, what is it? Why am I not wanting to use this kind of language? And you'll see that I am using this language now anyway. And it was because the work that I was doing in high ticket had evolved. And the work that I had started to do with clients over months, it took me a while to recognize it, had deepened. So in my premium mastermind, in my one-to-one work, I was doing more work around identity. We were having more conversations around leadership. I was helping my clients to navigate what happens when they bring a team in and they're not the ones who are running the entire business, that they delegate. What does that mean about their identity? Restructuring their office in ways that came with a genuine sense of, okay, what does this mean for me now? Who am I? How do I show up in the business? And so the strategy had really shifted into something that was much deeper, that was around this identity piece, but also what was coming out of it was brand architecture. I was supporting clients, and I still do, to support clients around the mission, the purpose, the values, the vision that then come into their brand and are visually expressed, but also are how the through line that comes through all of their work. And so the structural bones of the business that I was helping clients to create was something that was not just about where they'd been, it was about who they were becoming. And I was still walking around at that point with a bio that said, high ticket sales. And I just felt like I hadn't really caught up with myself. The piece that I sat with when I was looking at how to really evolve through this, because I had a mastermind that had clients in that still had worked with me, had come to work with me because they wanted me to support them with high ticket content and sales and strategy. And it's still a large part of the work that I do now, but that was predominantly what they'd come to work with me on. And I was sat there thinking, well, how does this now work? Like, how do I evolve? Like, I know that my work has deepened. I know that I have people within this one space that are really looking to me for us to work on this leadership identity piece and are really moving at like a fast pace. And I have other clients in the same space who are still a bit earlier on mastering the content strategies, mastering the offers. And that's good. Like, that's where they're at. There's no right or wrong about this. And the biggest thing it came down to for me was that I had to really lean into trusting my client. This is where I see there's challenges, particularly in the coaching space, but I would say this goes across businesses, where when we decide that we have evolved, like when we notice it, right? It's been happening for a while, but when we really notice it and we see that actually, the work now is different to what it was before, it can feel like what I describe in your body as this contraction of, okay, now I kind of need to control it. I need to let people know. I need to make this clean. I need to make sure that it's very clear about where I'm moving to next and what I'm not available for anymore. And to an extent, I agree with it, right? We can't be sitting in the middle. And you'll have heard me talk about this before, that the most dangerous place in your business is to be in the gray area where you're trying to be for everybody and you're not drawing a line and not setting the standard for who you are for, but you're also trying to please the clients that you've worked with before. And we cannot sit in this gray area, but also we cannot assume. And this is the thing that I had to really check myself on when I was going through this evolution again, because it's happened multiple times, is that it's not my role to assume which of my clients are going to evolve with me and which are not. And also to let it be okay that as I evolve, some clients will also evolve too, and they might decide that it's not the right time for them to stay in my space. To go into this in more depth, I feel like the coaching space in particular really has this very black and white view of, you're not for these clients anymore, you're only for these clients. And I just find it a bit bizarre, because I think if you work in a high ticket or even a high proximity way, in a high depth way, in a way that you are working in depth with clients, you will be working with people who are dynamic, who are discerning, who have multifacets to their personality, to the depth of their work, to their business, to their life. And they're not going to be put into a box yet. Here we are going, no, okay, you came to me for content, so therefore I don't think that you really want to do any identity work with me. If I start talking about leadership, you're going to drop off. It's like, why are we making these assumptions about really smart, discerning clients that are already in our world? They're not standing still whilst we evolve. They're being shaped by our work. We just might not see it from them. And so your growth will become a mirror to the clients that are in your spaces. And sometimes it becomes their permission slip, right? For them to evolve and for them to go, actually, this is a part of my work that I haven't been owning and that I haven't been stepping into. When you are in that space where you are evolving and you see that some clients are not quite at the stage that you are evolving into or not quite ready for that type of work, don't disregard them. Don't make the assumption. The only role that we have, I believe, as leaders within spaces is to evolve with transparency and truth and not to project our belief that people aren't ready for that to happen into the spaces that we currently run. I'll give you an example. I had a client who I don't work with currently, but actually I just did a Telegram day with her a couple of weeks ago. So this is going to illustrate kind of how our relationship works. I had a client who I worked with for 2 years. So she was in my one-to-one for a year. Then she came into my high-level mastermind. And it's one of those relationships, obviously, across the time that we had where I really watched somebody change in real time. And she originally came into work with me for business strategy, high ticket positioning, premium offer architecture, the kind of work that I was really well known for a couple of years ago. And then over those 2 years, obviously, I changed, I evolved. But an area that I really stepped into more was my creative expression and into the depth of the identity work and brand philosophy. And I let that be a bigger part of the work that I was doing. And now it's a really big part of the work that I do. And as she watched that, she was around it. She was being shaped by it, even when we weren't explicitly having conversations about what that meant for her. And I saw that she started to move in her own creative expression. Like that came through a lot more. And she started to explore how she wanted to go into different coaching modalities and really was developing her own voice and her own frameworks. And she started to develop something that was really genuine to her. And it came to the sort of 2-year mark. And I knew in terms of business strategy, there was a lot more work that we could be doing together. And she knew it as well. But there was just this understanding between us that she needed something different at that time. And she needed to go off and explore her own creative expression, the modalities that she's now really interested in. And she's doing a lot more around somatic work. And I was not the best placed person for her at that time. We didn't stop working together because the work hadn't worked. It was because, in my view, we had done exactly what premium depth mentorship is supposed to do. I was a mirror for her at the right time. I was a mirror for her to grow her business, but also for her to expand and evolve her business. And let that be okay that it got to a point where it didn't need me anymore. Not at that time. I don't need to be a constant for clients. And I've thought about this a lot because I think whenever we're going through this evolution, I see it talked about in the coaching space. There's this almost unsaid rule, not rule, maybe that's the wrong word, but this intention that actually you should then have clients that are just constantly expanding with you. You then start to sign the right level clients for your work, and then they just want to grow and grow and grow and grow, grow with you. And I don't believe that's always the case. I don't think that that's actually a healthy way to go into mentorship with somebody. I have clients like this one who worked with me for 2 years, and she came back the other week and we did a day together. And I know that she'll come back in the future at some point because she knows the mirror that I hold up to her, but she's also able to develop her own work, her own creative expression, her own evolution of her brand and her business in ways that don't need me, but that get to plug in and come in to work with me when she desires it and when it's going to be the most supportive. I'm sharing this because I think in going through this process myself as well, there were times where I was feeling the pressure of, oh, well, now I've really got into this like identity work and the leadership, and I've really like evolved my brand and my business. Surely I should now have these clients who just want to stay with me for years and years and years. And I do have clients that stay with me for years, but not all of them do. And I think that's a really natural, healthy part of you evolving your business, is that people will come in, evolve their business or their life with you for a while, and then go away, and then maybe come back and then go away. Isn't that what this is all about? It's about us being able to choose what is the mirror that we want reflected back to us at certain points. And this is where I'm just going to pick up on when somebody is going through an evolution in their brand, like they have decided that they want to do a different type of work or they want to deepen in the work. I can see it in their content before they even start to really talk about the depth of the work that they're doing. It's not just that I see it, I can feel it. And the feeling that I get, not in all cases, but this is just a feeling of proving. And when I see this happen, it's often that somebody has outgrown the clients or the work or the positioning that they currently have. And they start to draw this really strong line, almost like before and after in their business. Like talking about traits of clients that they used to have and who they don't want anymore. You know, the client that would never sign for more than 3 months, or the client that would come in and ask, low-level questions, whatever that is. I don't believe that there are low-level questions in the world, but anyway. And it's really this sort of sense of, this is me moving. There's a future of my business and what I'm leaving behind. I want you to really clearly know this is what I'm leaving behind and is not for me anymore. And I get it, right? Because by calling out the traits that we don't want in clients or in the type of work we're doing, then in our content, we are making it easier for people to self-qualify, like to qualify for, okay, no, I don't identify. But the tricky thing here is that one, by doing this, you're actually really speaking more to those clients that do have these traits, because they're the ones that are like, maybe I am the person that signs for 3 months, but maybe I'll try 6 months with her. And it's like, no, what you're trying to speak to there is a mindset of the person who is wanting to be more longer term committed into developing their business. It's not actually about whether they're, in for 3 months or 6 months. That's just a detail. So by speaking to these traits we don't want, sometimes we can actually speak more to the client that we're trying not to attract so much of. But the bigger piece for me is that for a client that is really at a level when you have evolved and your work has deepened, and these clients who are discerning with their investment, it's a real turn-off to have somebody in their content say, I'm not for this. They just want to feel what you're doing. They want to feel the momentum forward. And that momentum forward has this sense of proving in it if it has this anchoring back energy. It's like you're reaching into the past to justify where you're going next. And discerning premium clients, they feel that immediately. The clients that you want to attract at a high level are not looking for someone who can articulate why they've changed or even need it to be explained to them. They're looking for someone who is simply moving, who is in motion, someone who's thinking, who's present, whose work demonstrates where they are now without needing to explain what they've moved away from. And there is a big difference between positioning that says, I used to do X work and now I work with Y, and positioning that simply inhabits the Y, right? You don't even need the X to come up because you are just so embodied and moving where you're moving forward into. And the ones that have already done their own evolution, who have already worked with the best coaches and consultants within the space, they don't need you to separate yourself out from your past. They want to encounter your thinking and know immediately that you are operating at a level that they want now. And so this is what they should be able to feel that you've moved into already, without the explanation and without justifying or separating from the past. And so if we're not talking to what we've moved away from, then how can we really move into this evolution, because it's not just simply saying, oh, I've decided, and then the next day you just start speaking about something different. There is a real strength in taking your audience and your community, your social media community, or your current clients along with you. And it comes back to what I started this episode on, which is around trust, which sounds so simple, but also isn't. So trusting that clients in your world are right for where you're going and will come with you. And it's not because you've told them that you've evolved, but because they feel it in your actions, in your words, in how you're showing up to calls, how you are interacting with them, because they see the work has changed, because the conversations have changed, because you have changed, and they trust that they're perceptive enough to recognize that. And also trusting that the ones who aren't right for where you're going will make their own call without it meaning anything about you or them. And some of them might come back, as I mentioned. This is actually what good high ticket coaching and mentorship does. It raises the standard of someone's own thinking to the point where they can make clear decisions, including decisions about whether they keep working with you or not. And the goal, in my view anyway, is not in a coaching space, it's not to create dependency, it's to create clarity. And when you hold on to that evolution of your clients stops being something that you need to manage and that you contract around, and starts being something that you just get to trust into. So what I want to leave you with is that we talk a lot in the high ticket coaching and premium space about refining your ideal client profile, about raising your standards for who you work with, about being selective. And it does matter. This is something that I talk about a lot. I've got episodes around how to look at your catalyst client, that client that you can really win with and that matches your level of expertise. But today's episode, I want you to do something different. It's not a client profile audit, it's an energy audit. So I want you to look at, where are you still making yourself available in your content, in your offers, in your positioning, in the conversations that you're having, in ways that are costing you. Not because you are saying that you're not for something and you're drawing a line and saying, oh, I don't work with these people anymore, but it's just that the energy that you're still giving to a version of the business that you've already moved past. Even that justification of what happened in the past is giving energy to it, right? So the clients that will follow the version of you now is the version that shows up, that doesn't question, doesn't explain. It's just you are so focused on where you're moving next, and you're trusting that the right people are going to see it. So that is it for today. If this has landed for you, then share with somebody who is in the middle of the shift, or share with somebody who you've had conversations around this with. I think more people are going through it than we are talking about it. And if you are working at this level and you're in that gap between where your business is and where you know it's meant to be, this is the exact work that I do inside Calibration Mastermind, which is my 6 or 12 month mastermind. It is the room for this type of conversation where we go through, yes, all the structural, strategic bits that I've spoken about, but in terms of content and premium positioning and sales strategy. But as you've heard from this episode, so much more about the leadership, the depth, the identity it takes to hold building a business at the level that you know that you are meant for, and letting your business really catch up with the work that you are doing behind the scenes. Subscribe to the podcast. It helps us to reach the right women who are building premium businesses. And come and connect with me on Instagram and the social links that are down below in the show notes, and find out all of the ways that we can connect and also work together. I will see you for next week's episode.
Thanks for tuning in to Rich Work. I'd love it if you left a review. It helps other women to find us. In the meantime, follow me on Instagram at rachelpearson.co for a different take on premium positioning, one that's not about fitting a box. See you next week.